Hello, everyone, and welcome to Afternoon Tea. My name is Brittany. Welcome to Royal News Network. As we wrap up the royal news of the week, we have Andrew, formerly known as Prince Andrew. I keep wanting to say Prince Andrew, but it's Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. The case against him continues to grow as police are exploring more and more options. I'll give you, let's say, some brief thoughts because I did just finish this book. I have a longer video for members that I'll post about that. Then we also have Prince William sharing his love for Catherine and how much she's been through and how much it meant to her to go to Italy this year. And we also have, of course, much else going on. Meghan Markle apparently using her anniversary to try and sell her wares. We have Mike Tyndall talking about how Harry used to be fun, but not so more. And some other tidbits here and there. So, guys, welcome. I do apologize for the weirdness of the time and the late announcement, and hopefully this is coming through. But we had a storm roll through last night, and it totally completely like killed our internet. So they have been working on that since I think late in the night and now early morning, and we just finally got it back. It's 3:30 p.m. So I went out to lunch with my folks and we stopped at the grocery store and we were kind of taking our time and it came back and it's like, oh, it's on. It's on. So very, very exciting because I wasn't sure if we were going to even be able to do this today. To be honest, it might have been go back to Saturday morning. But guys, we are going to get into all this. But I did want to say thank you guys so much for the thoughts and prayers and that I'm feeling better. Yes, I am. So we usually have the Crown Report on Tuesdays, but for some reason, I don't know if it was a stomach bug or exactly what it was, but I was very sick, throwing up quite a bit, very consistently. There was a time period there where it was about every 10 minutes, which is not good. That really drains you. And I was exhausted and wrung out and had to go to the ER to get fluids and some medicine because I was rough. I was rough there for a second. But thankfully, I am better. My dad was so kind to stay with me the entire time, even though, at least for some of it, I was definitely puking it up, which could not have been pleasant to experience. But I spent most of Tuesday sleeping in the ER, kind of, sort of, and getting some medicine. So feeling better. Today's the day where I'm feeling pretty better. So I'm very, very grateful for that. But yeah, it was a trip. I was not expecting that. And I will say, guys, that's scary. I've never had anything like that. Well, I've broken my arms. Sorry, not broken my arms. I've broken my wrist, broken my foot. Had to go to the emergency room, and you're in pain. Yes, you're in pain. There's a lot of pain, but it's weird when you feel like your but it's like localized to one area. Like my wrist really, really, really hurts. But it's weird when you feel like your whole body is just kind of cannibalizing itself and like it feels like it's kind of sort of dying. It feels very weird. It's very, very scary. So I'm glad I was able to get some support, get to the hospital, that my family was close by because I don't know, I might have called 911 or something if I didn't have anybody close by because that was scary. But we are here, glad to be feeling better. Today's the first day I feel pretty much my normal self. I was still feeling it a little bit yesterday, still feeling it obviously a lot on Wednesday. So thankfully, we're feeling much better. And we do have Teresa Holtham. Hello, hope you're feeling better. I am. Thank you guys so much. And then Eva Williamson gifted 5 Royal News Network memberships. Why, thank you so much, Eva. I really do appreciate it so much. And I'm sure a couple other people in the chat will be excited about it as well. Sorry, I really read the other comments and my brain kind of splices two ideas together. So if that ever happens, I do apologize. But guys, I am feeling so much better. I'm so incredibly grateful. And yeah. So yeah, Tam says sounds more like food poisoning. That's probably it. They kind of told me in the ER, they're like, we're probably never going to know what this was. And so, but to be throwing up that much consistently was quite scary. So I'm glad all that is better. Don't want to gross anybody out. But yeah, it was a trip. But let's go ahead and get into all these stories. So I actually wrote them down today so I can try to remember to get through as many of them as possible. Because obviously the huge news is about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and how they are expanding the case against him. And this is, guys, This is all as there's some aspects that are looking into the sexual misconduct, but a lot of this is in relation to his time as a trade envoy. So, in relation to Virginia Giuffre, I don't know how much of that is reflected in this case, to be honest. But it's one of those things where this is going to be quite complicated because obviously Virginia is no longer with us. Jeffrey Epstein isn't. Maxwell is in prison. Ghislaine Maxwell, she's not saying anything. So this will be interesting. But with all the records related to Andrew's time as a trade envoy, that is going to be the stickier problem. That is going to be the problem that really is going to be the one that most likely sinks him. And I sort of always thought that would be, especially as we're looking more into that, because to me, I think the Virginia Giuffre stuff would be hard to pin down because he didn't pay her directly. What did he know? When did he know it? Like there's all sorts of questions here that we don't really have a great answer for. So let's go ahead and read a little bit. This is from the Times of London. I try to go to some of the best sources for these type of things so we can get some good information, good solid information. So the police investigation into Andrew is considering potential offenses, including sexual misconduct and corruption. Again, this is within his time as a trade envoy. So within that trade envoy role, his job was to go around to different countries on behalf of the monarchy and help smooth relations. That was like the gist of the idea. The Duke of Kent had done that previously, but Andrew kind of used it as a piggy bank, you could say. And it didn't end up going super well for him. And the British people, really, he was not at all able to, I think, be the ambassador because he's too arrogant, he's too entitled, he was a bore, he was just an actual obnoxious principal. So he was not able to, I think, fulfill the role that he was supposed to fulfill in this particular instance with this particular case. I just realized, guys, I was like, oh, I need to get the thumbnail up for this video. So we will do that as well. But continuing on, detectives are examining a wide range of possible crimes that fall under the broad banner of misconduct in public office. The Thames Valley Police will appeal on Friday for potential victims and witnesses to come forward, emphasizing that misconduct in office is a crime that can take different forms. So this is definitely something very much different than other crimes that we have seen, particularly in this case, particularly royals commit. So it's going to be a little bit, again, it'll be fascinating to see how exactly this comes into play and what that actually ends up looking like. But it's going to be quite the case, you could say. And so the article goes on to say witnesses have already been interviewed, and police are understood to have uncovered evidence in searches at Andrew's home in Sandringham, Norfolk, and his former residence at Royal Lodge on the Windsor estate. Investigation is resourced in a similar manner to those looking at serious crimes such as homicide, and specialized sexual offense investigators are deployed to the team. So they're taking this quite seriously. Has obviously been so incredibly like a lot of pressure on the monarchy to do more in regard to the Andrew situation. And the Andrew situation, guys, is sort of tricky because you have to be able to convict him of a crime release when it comes to the sexual offenses. Again, I think that's going to be a bit trickier, especially in regard to the Virginia Giuffre case. But again, we will see where this which goes. But I think this is a good thing. And here's the problem that the monarchy faces in this particular situation, which is that the more the investigation continues, the worse it probably is going to look for the monarchy, because the monarchy, in one way or another, was somewhat complicit in what Andrew was doing because they weren't reining him in. There was the job of somebody on the royal staff to rein him in, and they didn't. They overly, I would imagine, deferred, and we've sort of heard, deferred to the queen. And the queen couldn't discipline her son, so there was nobody else who was able to. And so you have this entire situation where he's going completely off the rails, not really doing the job he's supposed to do. And there's nobody there to go, hey, you need to stop. And so the monarchy, though, they should welcome this to a certain extent. So that way, and this is the one thing I've criticized the monarchy about before as well. But the big thing with Andrew, the thing that must be addressed for the future of the monarchy, is that the monarchy must recognize the fault it played in what Andrew turned into and announce and share to the world how they're going to make sure that does not happen again. Because I think that's the one thing we haven't really gotten from Charles is a recognition of failure and how to avoid failure in the future. It just seems like things are just going on as they ever were. Nobody cares. We're just going to keep plowing ahead as if everything is good. And that's just not a good idea. So Andrew was arrested on his 66th birthday on suspicion of misconduct in public office after material releases by the US Department of Justice suggested that as a government trade envoy, again, this is all in relation to that trade envoy status, he had forwarded confidential information to his friend Jeffrey Epstein, the financier of duplicitous origin or duplicitous metrics. Either way, he has consistently denied all allegations of wrongdoing. Of course, there was that famous shot there. Other developments, newly released files show that Queen Elizabeth pressed Andrew to be given trade envoy role. So I think I've even had people in this chat here mentioning, and I've heard it elsewhere that, oh, no, the Queen just didn't really have anything to do with Andrew, or that the Queen didn't really have, let's say, she wasn't pushing for the trade envoy. That was the government's idea. No, we have it officially, and that had always been my understanding, is that the Queen pushed for this particular role for her son to the detriment of the crown overall. Says the DOJ has not released material from the Epstein files to the British police. That's interesting. Thames police detectives are still assessing allegations that a woman was trafficked to the UK by Epstein for a sexual encounter with Andrew. Her lawyer is cooperating with police, but she has not been interviewed. So again, the big question with Epstein is it's just so hard to say because yes, obviously he ferried women around, but how much was it for him? How much was it for his friends? They didn't really pay. So how did Epstein get anything out of it except for the fact that obviously he has potential blackmail? That's sort of the weird aspect I think of the Jeffrey Epstein case is that this is not a cut and dried case, and that's why it's been so insanely difficult to prosecute is that it's not cut and dry. So, Oliver Wright, Assistant Chief Constable at the force, said that there was a number of aspects of alleged misconduct that the investigation is examining. He added, misconduct in public office is a crime that can take many forms, making this a complex investigation. Our team of very experienced detectives are working meticulously through a significant amount of information that has come in from the public and other sources. We are committed to conducting a thorough investigation into all reasonable lines of inquiry, wherever they may lead. We encourage anyone with information to get in touch. So forces across the country have been asked to examine allegations linked to the Epstein files. The Thames Valley called on any potential victims to come forward. Wright said, whether a victim survivor is ready to engage with us, we're ready for you at whatever point that may be. And so that's great, but you can also invite people who are just looking for their, 60 minutes of fame, or they're looking for paycheck or something, kind of having a broad question and asking for anyone. I mean, they always do that, but you run the risk of people who are jumping onto the bandwagon and attempt to see where things might go. So there is a bit of a risk there. The forces inquiry was opened after emails from the DOJ suggested that while as trade envoy in 2010 and 11, Andrew sent Epstein files of visits to Singapore, Hong Kong, and Vietnam. He also appeared to have sent details of investment, even though his role had a duty of confidentiality. Misconduct in public office, which carries a maximum life sentence, is a wide-ranging offense that can involve sexual misconduct, conflicts of interest, dishonesty, corruption, and improper influence. And so I think definitely a lot of these have potential here: sexual misconduct, conflicts of interest, dishonesty, corruption, improper influence. All of those could potentially be wrapped up in what Andrew was doing at the time, which again, quite concerning. Times understands that detectives have not limited their investigation to claims arising from the Epstein documents, but are considering the evidence in light of all the forms that misconduct in public office can take. They include abusing a position for a sexual purpose, improper influence, conflicts of interest, dishonesty, and fraud. Detectives are willing to consider standalone criminal offenses beyond misconduct in public office if that is where the evidence takes them, or a combination. Misconduct in public office is a notoriously complex offense to prosecute because there is no official list of roles that constitute a public official, and the misconduct must be clearly linked to the suspect's role. So, this is interesting because misconduct in public office can a little bit be seen, I think, from a legal perspective as sort of a moral failing. You morally failed in your role here. And yes, there's obviously criminal aspects that can come from that, but I think that's different than, let's say, a general fraud case or something like that. Whereas that in a position where you are a public figure, a public official, sorry, not public figure, public official, there is an extra burden on you as a public official. So that means you represent the government and these sorts of things, that you have an additional obligation to act in a particular way. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. Detectives have received early investigative advice from the Crown Prosecution Service and are working to secure more evidence to show that Andrew met the definition of a public official in his trade envoy role. Oh, that's interesting. So not only do they are they investigating things, they have to prove that he fit the role of a public official in his trade envoy role. So is it considered legally, I guess, different than if you're a royal? That's interesting. To me, that's I find that really fascinating. Thames police also rely heavily on the DOJ released files, but although negotiations are underway, no material has been secured. So that means that at this point, the DOJ hasn't, let's say, shared the unredacted files of Andrew. So the DOJ shared the redacted files with the world, but the unredacted, as it partakes to Andrew, haven't been shared, or a lot of other people. The royal household, including the king, has said that it will cooperate with the investigation into Andrew. The royal family has been dogged for more than 15 years by allegations about Andrew's relationship with Epstein, who killed himself in prison in 2019. Andrew's arrest plunged the monarchy into a constitutional crisis, which I 100% believe is true. Then, obviously, as well, Virginia Giuffre has made a series of allegations, many, many allegations. And the one she chose to, it was kind of interesting reading Virginia's book, because she makes, like, she has a whole litany of people that she says she was trafficked to, but she really focuses most of her ire on Epstein, Maxwell, and Andrew, even though she does often admit that other people treated her worse, you could say. Like, there was one person she said was extremely violent, and I don't use their name because I'm afraid they'll come after me and my family. She mentioned that, and a couple of other people. And so I find that kind of fascinating, because it's like, why Andrew? She even seemed to, like, in her book, admitted liking seeing the "Not My King" signs and "God Save Virginia Giuffre" during the King Charles's coronation, which I found a little odd, because obviously, yes, Andrew is connected to the institution, but the institution itself, which may have facilitated some of what Andrew did, most likely, at least in some cases, not fully knowing and understanding what was going on, it's not like the king's fault about what happened. Like, that's on Andrew. That's on Andrew. He wasn't even king at the time, Charles. So it's like, why are you excited for "Not My King" if it really didn't have anything to do with the monarchy overall? But I think the Virginia stuff was interesting. Again, I have a whole video on it, but her particular allegation, she got a 12 million pound settlement. She got a settlement from Ghislaine Maxwell. She got a settlement from Epstein, a very small one, at least, from Epstein. And so she really went after Andrew in particular. She had a really, really, really wanted to take him down, it seemed to be. So he did make the civil case go away, which honestly was the smart move. I think he wildly overpaid, but I don't think he was wrong at all to settle, because the case would have been damaging. It would not have gone well for him, even if he won. Like, we've seen this with Harry and Meghan. We've seen this with Blake and Ryan. Sometimes, even if the case goes to trial, it doesn't really turn out for you. Even if you think you've won, you've really kind of lost in the court of public opinion. That would have happened with Andrew and Virginia. I think both on both sides. I think there would have been a failing on all sides here in terms of how they kind of come out of it. But just to at least be clear. I do think Andrew and Virginia had some sort of sexual contact. I'm sure they did. How much he knew about what her relationship was with Epstein, which was complicated as well, because this was not a clear, let's say, because in some prostitution type situations, which, she claims to have been in, the the person who is the quote unquote pimp, which obviously Epstein would fall into, usually the pimp would take the money and give the girl a small cut. Well, in this case, Epstein was giving the girls quite a bit of money and not really taking a cut, because I guess the cut was blackmail, but that's not even clear because nobody's really been able to find anything, or at least nothing has really come to light. So this is not a clear cut thing. This is why nobody else has been prosecuted, why it's been so difficult for like any movement on this case, is because this is not a clear cut case. This is one that is deeply complicated. You have to measure and kind of balance all these different facets of something that is not, let's say, a straightforward escort service slash prostitution ring. That is not what Jeffrey Epstein was running. It was something much more complex than that, which is why it was always so hard to, I think, bring any charges, because there were so many things going on. Not that he wasn't doing horrible things, not that he wasn't doing terrible things, but I think some women were complicit and indulged in what the money he was giving, and some women didn't, and some women are probably liked it at first and then came out later and said, "No, no, no, I didn't." So this is one of those, and people don't like it when you say these type of things, but I always think too, and I said this in the members video, which again will get edited and out to you all. But you got to be careful, because people make allegations, and there's some people who will say, "Well, believe all women." But how would you feel if that allegation was leveled at, your father or your husband or your son or something like that? People level allegations, and some of them are true, and some of the times they are allegations that are not true. And sometimes they're just to get a certain way, or money or leverage or what have you. And so I think that's always something to keep in mind, is that there is a level of skepticism that is healthy in some of these stories. I don't think every aspect of this case is clear cut. And I don't think all aspects of Virginia's memory are correct. She even had to basically apologize to Alan Dershowitz for improperly accusing him of something, even though she says in her book numerous times she remembers every face. Apparently, she got Alan Dershowitz wrong. So it raises the question of who else did she get wrong? Obviously, we can't ask her. She's no longer here. But that's just, again, something I like to keep in mind, because I'm just not a person who is automatically believes any woman making an allegation. I believe a lot of them, but I like to trust but verify. Yeah, and as Baseline says here in 1989, Amber Heard is a prime example of don't believe all women. Yes, most certainly she is. I like, as soon as she made that, I was like, no, no. So let's see. This is the last paragraph we have. Thames police are likely to seek documents from the Met inquiry and tried to interview Andrew's protection officers. Detectives are also reviewing allegations that a second woman was trafficked to the UK by Epstein for an encounter with Andrew. They have a statement from her US lawyer, but she's not yet been interviewed. So again, there's a lot of questions. And again, the question of what the people got, because some people, again, all these women got money for these particular situations. And so that does muddy the water. Unfortunately, this is not going to be absolutely everything goes swimmingly. Everybody shared their testimony perfectly. This is going to be a tough one. So we did have a little bit from the Daily Mail and this Richard K piece, and at least the beginning here. We'll read a bit because I think he is right. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor is an oaf and a fool whose lies destroyed his own reputation, have done untold damage to the institution he was born into. But will he bring down the monarchy? Not so long ago, that would have been an absurd question to ask, as the royal family has overcome scandals in the past which have posed existential threats to its survival. A rogue prince, even one mired in the kind of sleaze, greed, and overbearing entitlement that Andrew has so unattractively displayed, could surely not undo an affection and respect for our first family that has flourished for generations. But with every sordid detail about the former prince that has emerged, those bonds are being loosened. The latest allegations against disgraced Andrew, that he is being investigated by detectives over potential sexual offenses is a bombshell development and a crisis for the royals. And this is something I have mentioned a lot of times is that with Andrew, and again, this started in 2011. Then you have Harry and Meghan leaving, and then you have Andrew's interview, excuse me, in 2019. Harry and Meghan leaving in 2020. But you also have negative stories building up in 2018. Like in October 2018, we were getting negative stories about Harry and Meghan. And then you go on and you have all the stuff with Harry and Meghan, and then you have more things coming up with out with Andrew. What this does is that all of this whittles away at the foundation of the monarchy, little by little by little. It's not a flood, but all these little chinks are damaging the institution. They are 100% damaging in the institution. To say otherwise is, I think, a bit foolish and a bit naive. This is definitely just fueling, again, the people who Virginia was quite happy to see, fueling the anti-monarchy movement. And that's dangerous for all the royals because and those who want the monarchy to survive, because I want the monarchy to survive. I like the historical aspect that it shares with the world. But the problem is that something like this reflects that within the monarchy, there are people who think they are above the other people, that think that they should be or can do things that other people aren't able to do. And it kind of fuels this idea of the monarchy being kind of this arrogant institution that thinks it's above the law, and it's not. And I think it's good to actually prosecute Andrew. Now, to be careful in this, I want to be clear as well is that you need actual evidence, not just feelings. Actual physical evidence, most likely, or strong and compelling, consistent testimony, which is why, again, I think any sexual assault allegations will be really hard to stick. And that's probably not the hill I would die on if I was, let's say, the Met Police or anything like that. That's not the particular hill I'd die on. But you have to have actual evidence and clear and consistent signs, not just, oh, I feel this. Oh, he is morally a terrible person. He is. Nobody's denying that. But at the same time, you can't just claim and want him to be arrested and all these things and not understand or realize that in order for that to be accomplished, you actually have to have evidence. People go way too much with non-evidence these days. It's trial by social media, and social media trials are not real. They're not real. They don't rely. It's a mob mentality. It's kind of like the Salem witch trials or something like that. There's a mob mentality that comes over people where you must get so and so because they're horrible and dangerous and all these things. And I'm all for addressing within the institution titles. I think that is wildly out of what hasn't been done that should be done. Address those titles, take them, adjust what the monarchy looks like in the future, because that is what's going to save it 150%. But at the same time, you need to let the cogs of justice, which are slow, move. And it must be the most solid case imaginable. Because I would say, even if I was part of this prosecution, I would argue that this case needs to be so above board that you can basically hang your hat on a conviction. That's how good this has to be. And the reason it does need to be that way is number one, it's going to look best to the public. Number two, it's going to really, I think, help people kind of get the closure that they need. But at the same time, some people have to realize that they're not going to get the closure that they want here. This plane of existence, I've talked about this before in other videos, but there is, at the end of the days, at the end of all of our days, there will be a final judgment that happens, I think. And so I take a level of comfort knowing and understanding that I may not see judgment on this plane of existence, but I will see it in the next. And I think that's where some people need to, let's say, kind of understand is that sometimes you won't get everything you want out of these trials. These trials, like, we can't let it become a circus. It needs to be a trial based in fact, not opinion pieces, not malicious character assassinations for the sole reason of character assassinating. It needs to be based on evidence. So that way there is no question. Everybody knows, everybody's on the same page. And it's a very, very, I think, clean cut. And so that if anyone complains, it goes, well, this was the best evidence humanly ever that existed. You won't get that. But if you understand what I'm saying there, I think that's going to be incredibly critical to any future situation in regard to Andrew. It has to be the best evidence humanly possible, like ever. And if you don't have that, I think that's going to be a big, big problem. And I think that's incredibly important to get that foundation of good evidence. And if it's not there, guys, it's not there. It's just not there. Sometimes that's life. It's interesting, especially if you watch enough true crime, that usually, usually, even especially like cold cases, like sometimes the cops are like pretty sure who it is, but they just don't have enough evidence. There's just not enough physical evidence. There's not enough of this evidence, or there's enough reasonable doubt where it's impossible to move forward. And what they do, or at least this is what they do in the United States. I apologize, I don't know the judicial and criminal system in the UK at all, but in the United States, if they are pretty gosh darn sure positive that somebody did it, but they don't have the rock solid evidence, and the evidence they have is, let's say, somewhat shaky, where it's like you could definitely argue one way, but the defense has a pretty good argument on the other side too. And so in that conundrum, what you do is you don't prosecute at the moment. You wait, because in hopes that at some point some stronger evidence comes forward. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't. And that's sad. That's really, really sad. And so you want to have, though, I think, for the future of the monarchy has to, of course, encourage this investigation. It has to really be above board, above all the politics and everything. And I think if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And people have to be okay either way. That's just the end example, is that people have to be okay either way and can't go after and enact justice on their own. Because it sounds like the gentleman who was attacked Andrew in Norfolk, it sounded like he was having some mental health issues and these sorts of things, acting erratically earlier before the Andrew situation. But we have seen, though, generally, that in our, at least the United States politically and charged environment, there have been attempted assassinations and an assassination over ideas and people thinking that people need justice who aren't getting justice. And that is, we don't take justice into our own hands. Justice belongs to the court. And if we don't get justice here, we have to wait until the next life. To just give it a little bit of a hint, I honestly think that when you read Virginia's book, she ended up having a ton of health problems in the last 5 years of her life. I honestly think, having read the book, the pursuit of justice, or this relentless pursuit of justice, relentlessly telling her story over and over and over again, I think is actually what contributed to her death. Because it was that constant regurgitation of the story, constantly reliving those very, very horrific memories that actually led to her being more mentally unstable than she was before. And actually, at the end of the day, I can't help but wonder and question, did some of that pursuit of justice actually help her, or did it really hurt her and cause her death at the end of the day, due to all the stress, all the chaos, all the constant talking about it and everything? And I can't help but wonder, was it really worth it at the end of the day, especially with Epstein being dead? I mean, Maxwell's in prison, which is great, but she wasn't even part of the Maxwell trial. And I did see somebody asking early, how long was Maxwell on trial, or how many years did Maxwell get? I think she got a little over 20, but she'll most likely be out in her late 70s. So she was convicted at 60 and got her sentence at 60. So she could be in there as late as her 80s, or like kind of 80, not 80s, or she could be out in her mid 70s. And I would imagine if she's doing good behavior, she may get out early. Although if she goes to the board and denies the charges against her, they may keep her in there longer. Sometimes they do that. But if she has an exceptional record, she may get out there a bit earlier. So guys, that's sort of the update with Andrew. But we do have a couple of, Carol gifted one Royal News Network membership. Why, thank you so much, Carol. And you also gifted a super chat here, $20 super chat. You say Charles has had wins with the US and Northern Ireland. Charles, time is now to implement reforms such as removing non-royals off the website, removing titles removed from line of succession, counselors of state, new framework for all the royals. Yes, and this is something I've advocated for quite a bit, is that the royal family needs an update. It does. It's basically operating on the letters patent from 1918. Like, it's still largely operating within that realm. And I think this is a time to update and say, hey, if a royal wants to leave, because see, guys, the issue with Harry leaving is never that Harry left. He has a right to leave. He's not forced to be a royal for life. This is not slavery. He was free to leave. It's how he left and the way he behaved afterwards that was a problem. But also, if you decide to leave, it should be appallingly clear to anybody who decides to take that measure that there will be consequences, because with great responsibility, with great privilege, I think should come great responsibility. And so if Harry left, again, right, his right, he can do that if he wants to, but he loses out in his place in the line of succession. He loses his titles. He loses any and all privileges connected to the monarchy unless a particular agreement can be met or something to that effect. Because I do think there's a a a likelihood of a Princess Madeline situation. I think the Swedes, honestly, for starting the kids young as a bit of working royals, I think the Swedes are a great example. And I also think when it comes to how to deal with, well, not deal with rogue royals, but how to deal with a royal who decides, hey, I don't want to be in here full time, but I still want to be connected. How do we do that? I think Princess Madeline is a great example. And I think when you kind of are able to sort of navigate and figure out where everybody should rest, it should be one thing where it's not guaranteed that if you leave, you get to keep everything. Like, you have to negotiate, because what the problem with Harry and Meghan was that Harry and Meghan thought that they could do whatever they wanted. They thought they could just plop down their resignation letter and still keep doing exactly what they wanted to do with no consequence. And then obviously there was a consequence to them. But the fact that they even thought for a second that they could get away with that level of nonsense, I think reveals a ton about Harry and Meghan and their attitude and what they thought about particular things. And so I think the monarchy for its future has to recognize that, hey, we really screwed up here. And we allowed these people, this couple, to sort of walk all over us. And that resulted in a severely damaging situation, because everybody needs to be aware that the monarch holds all the power. And if the monarchy is weak, they just look ever weaker, because I think Charles looks weak for allowing Harry to walk all over him. I think Charles looks weak. I think he looks insanely weak. There's no reason why he needs to let Harry walk all over him, but he does. I don't understand why. He doesn't need to, but Charles is weak on Harry. And so you need somebody who is strong to say, no, we're not doing X, Y, and Z. No, we're not doing this. And so they can figure out how to move forward to the best of their ability. We have Baseline here as well. Thank you so much, Baseline, saying King Charles is just procrastinating as his illness gets worse and worse, so that Harry and Meghan will keep saying he is too, or I'm going to say Harry and Meghan will keep on saying he's too sick to do anything. Every month, as a King Charles needs to take the tiles now, and yet nothing happens. Yeah, he is stalling. I think he is stalling, knowing maybe perhaps, again, this is me overly speculating, that his life will likely be shorter than he anticipated, that he will battle cancer for the rest of his life. And so he wants to reconcile with his son, which to a certain extent, I cannot fault the man for. I cannot fault the man for desiring and wanting a relationship with his son. I won't fault him for that. But I think sometimes the greatest love comes with a level of discipline. Love, I talked about this in my reaction to the Meghan Markle speech at the WHO, where Meghan Markle was like, well, we love our children, don't we? Yeah. And love requires that you discipline them. That's not comfortable. That's not what people want to hear. But love requires a level of discipline, because that shows love, is that you love your child enough to set boundaries. You love your child enough to have rules in place to keep them safe. That's so insanely, insanely important. And if you don't do those type of things, you shouldn't be surprised if something bad happens to your child, because If you don't teach them to hold my hand when you cross the street, one day they'll bolt out and they'll get hit by a car maybe because you didn't show them the love that required the discipline. Discipline and love in a parent-child relationship go hand in hand. In other relationships, that is not the case because I like caught myself for a second going, wait, that could be translated really weird among some people. But when it comes to the parent-child relationship, I think the love requires discipline, the love requires sacrifice, and that's incredibly important in this parent-child dynamic. And so to bring this back to Harry, what Charles needs to do is discipline his son. And that might actually result in love at some point from Harry. He might resent his father immediately. He might get really mad and angry, but he might also come to love and respect his father because his father is not just letting him walk all over him. This idea that if you let somebody walk all over you, that's love, I think it is false. I think sometimes showing and creating those boundaries is incredibly important for the parent-child dynamic. And when you're older, of course, and you grow up, that's a bit different. But I think in this instance, Charles needs to give his son a little smack on the butt and go, "No, we're not doing this, Harry. Yes, I love you, but I'm loving you by telling you you are wrong in this particular situation. I am right, and I'm going to strip those titles from you because that's important to the future of the monarchy, and it's important to you that you know there are boundaries that you can't cross." And you know that you have disappointed me. And as a result, something is being taken away from you. Yes, you may cry and scream or whatever, but I think Charles's role here should be telling Harry, I don't give a damn. I don't usually say that, but frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn is I think the appropriate response here. Or as I heard in third grade, my third grade teacher told us, I can't even remember the story, but some kid wrote to his dad and was complaining or asking about something. And the response was, too bad, so sad, love dad. And I think that's how Charles should be dealing with his son right now. He's not, but that's how he should be. Too bad, so sad, love dad. And I think honestly, that is love. That is love. And yeah, those are my thoughts there. And so let's go ahead and move on to like a positive story. These are fun. We don't get to do these super often, so I'm like super excited for this one, you guys. And we are going to listen to Prince William. We may not be able to do the entire thing, but I know people are going to get upset that I talk or have to pause every 15 seconds. I realize how annoying that is, but you can watch the full interview if you want to, but we have to do every 15 seconds for copyright reasons. It's the only way I can kind of ensure that the video gets past the quote unquote censors because that is an issue. Yes, some people are fully fine to do that, but like you run the risk. So I do not like to run the risk. And so we will be doing every 15 seconds. So please, people, do not complain. But I really love this interview of Prince William because he talks about his family, how much they love Catherine, the impact of this recent trip to Italy, how much that positively influenced her and how much she appreciated it. So let's go ahead and get into it. There we go. And so she mentions briefly here real quick, just having a cup of coffee as she like, is this does he grab a cup of coffee at this type of morning when he's taking his kids to school? So we missed a little bit of that.
Is this normally the time when you're doing the school run?
I'm hoping that the children are on their way to school. They are listening this morning.
Should we give them a shout out?
You can definitely give them a shout out. They will be listening.
Well, you can give them a message if you like.
Charlotte and Louis, because George is boarding last night. So Charlotte and Louis, if you're listening, make sure you're on time, please.
Yeah.
Oh, so George is boarding. That's interesting, guys. I don't think I saw anybody reporting on that, but George is boarding apparently. Okay. That's exciting news. So Charlotte and Louis are on the way. George, maybe he's like kind of getting prepped for boarding, figuring out if he wants to do boarding. Ooh, like There are possibilities here.
Make sure you're not fighting over who's listening to what this morning.
Exactly. Well, hopefully they're only listening to Heart Breakfast. Is it chaotic like most people's school runs in the morning? Do they shout and
It can
argue?
be.
And
It's it depends. There's a guitar lesson going on in the morning, a music lesson. You've got to get guitar in the car. No, we're not taking the guitar, and we take the bag for school.
So it sounds very normal. Apparently somebody's playing the guitar. So that's super cute.
Are we boarding? No, we're not. Are we seeing friends? No, we're not. So there's all that going on in the morning.
Oh, so we're boarding them or they're not. So I guess that's an option. I didn't realize that they were doing that. Okay. That's new information.
are they fiends for snacks? Because my children can't seem to go anywhere without having a snack, even though they've just had their breakfast.
Yeah, there's a lot of jam sandwiches taken in the car usually.
Oh, nice.
And Louis is very
Now for
kind.
you
He'll
or
leave,
Louis?
he'll leave jam fingerprints throughout the car, which is really helpful.
That's really, really cute. And I do want to say, guys, I had seen a little bit clips of this, but because I had been without internet most of the day, I haven't had a chance. Like we're kind of a little bit outside of town, so our cell reception is not really good, and so I haven't been able to pick up on most of this. But I think it's cute that they're boarding and it's flexible boarding, so George can kind of figure out what he likes or not. So this might be the time where he's just kind of getting his feet wet, feeling this out. This boarding, so boarding schools are very common in the UK, especially among the upper classes. They're very, very common. And so it's interesting that we do have this confirmation that George is considering that, because the question was, and I always thought William and Catherine would want to keep George at home and not really have him board, but it sounds like he may be boarding. So
listen, are you hungry?
Talking about jam sandwiches, yes. I
Yes,
am,
okay,
yeah.
brilliant. Well, listen,
That's my job.
We'll sort out some breakfast. We are live from Dibble and Grub, the cafe here on the beach. The fog, it's a little foggy outside.
I'm praying we're never going to leave.
so this was a radio station, and I think they're live from, I want to say 8 to 10 or 6 to 10. I'm not sure which one it is. So I've been actually watching Frasier recently, and I'm like, oh my goodness, radio is not much of a thing as it used to be, but here William is on the radio.
I don't want
Might
to
not
go
be able
home
to do that.
ever.
That may happen.
Is that sort of weather? Is that normal here?
Yeah, very normal. It comes and goes quite quick.
Okay.
It'll be glorious sunshine in about, I'm sure.
My mum always says it's a microclimate, Mander.
Does she?
Yeah, always.
I felt like that was a very, very English phrase she did, and like a very specific English accent, which I thought was super cute. So guys, I'm kind of jumping between the screen where the chatting is and the video. So if I don't respond to you right away or don't react, I'm sorry.
The Isles of Scilly are very special to you. Explain to us why that is.
So I used to come here a lot when I was younger. Parents brought down here, and it is, as you can see, a place like no other. It's kind of a different world down here. It's beautiful.
It really is. And there is that for me when
So they're on the Isles of Scilly. And so that is where he is currently at, part of the Duchy of Cornwall. So William is doing a lot of work to try and kind of create and see the duchy in his own way. So Azima says it's a Cornish Somerset accent. Okay, thank you so much. And Marjorie says radio is still very popular in the UK. Good to know. It's not as popular here in the US anymore. I don't know who listens to radio, but I'm sure some people do. Somehow my car got stuck on a Catholic station, and I don't know what it is, so I never change it because I'm always listening to actually something else from my phone. but I do hear some of the Catholic radio in my area.
I visited with my family, there is that sense of freedom, isn't there? You feel free, you feel untroubled.
Yeah.
This is where my daughter, my littlest one, got on a bike and I gave her a shopping list, and she did it for the first time, like on her own. I knew she was going to be perfectly safe.
That's a really cool thing, because you don't have that a lot anymore in our modern society. I feel like the ability to give a child a list of ingredients to go and pick up.
It's great. The children can go where they want here. It's safe. They can go out and explore. The beaches are amazing. You can see the water's crystal clear.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much to do down here for a family. It's fantastic.
Did you feel like that when you were younger, this was a place that you could escape to and you weren't going to be, looked on and have
Absolutely, yeah.
I think this is actually a really well done interview, I think, so far, because it's very casual, but it's also asking really nice questions and really substantive questions. So I have to say, bravo.
It's very like, island life down here is wonderfully family orientated and community, and so people just get on and do their thing and enjoy themselves, and no one no one wants to sort of, be a pain. And so everyone down is great.
What's your favourite thing to do in the water when you're here? Because it's freezing. Do you wear
Like she goes, it's freezing. So you had to put on, at least for the Norwegian Royals, William has done this too, put on a wetsuit to actually attempt to surf in these areas.
a wetsuit or are you a Speedo man?
I wasn't in a wetsuit last night, Amanda, and I thought I'll be brave. It was fresh, but it was okay.
Hang on, you've been in
cold.
So we know Catherine likes to take cold. She likes to swim in cold water. So I wonder if William is pulled into some of that as well.
Last night when I got here, I had a quick dip. Yeah.
Well,
You're kidding, mate.
No, it's good.
It's
Yeah.
a
It's good for
bone-chilling
you.
experience.
Yeah, I'm there's a lot of screaming and a lot of like heavy breathing. So I'm not pretending I stay in there very long, but I'm happy to go in for a bit. Yeah.
And so,
I like how they're really like, we're not doing that. Are you crazy?
what are you going to be doing whilst you're here on the Isles?
So we're going to go visit the hospital later, which is fantastic. The islands had issues with trying to make sure they've got sustainable long-term care here. A lot of time people have to go to the mainland, and
Okay, now I realize, guys, that there is music playing in the background, and it's probably going to do a copyright strike. That really sucks. But we'll still try to listen to a bit more.
cost for them, it's a nightmare. So really looking forward to seeing how the hospital's expanded and having maternity services here now and more social care. So really looking forward to see them and support all the wonderful NHS staff who are down here doing a hell of a job, as you can imagine, with all the conditions they have to manage down here.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go and see some housing that we've opened for.
So obviously he's working a lot with the Duchy of Cornwall on housing. So I think this is, again, I think this is a great interview. Yeah, Alice here says this is such a relaxed interview. It's really good. It is really good. And I'll probably have to go through and cut some chunks out of it. We'll have to see how it goes. Unfortunately, I was just like, darn, the music in the background. But I think this is a great interview.
Or some essential workers.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been housing built here for nearly 30 years now, at the scale we're doing.
Wow.
To support the teachers, the firefighters, the nurses, anyone in essential sort of island role. So exciting.
So yeah, he's doing a lot here and really trying to make the title and the encompassing authority as Duke of Cornwall make it his own, which I think is fantastic.
It's super exciting. We met some of the lovely staff down there yesterday, and we were sort of not laughing, but we couldn't believe how talented they have to be. So not only do they might have to deliver babies and do care, they might have to sort of change plug sockets and do electrical work.
Multitask.
So that's really interesting because it's such a rural environment that you have to be able to do a lot of different things. And this is definitely true. Like I can see this on Hawaii as well, because we are on Hawaii, the Big Island. So the Big Island is named Hawaii. The chain of islands is also called Hawaii, in case you didn't know. And so that is where I broke my wrist, was on the Big Island of Hawaii, as my grandma likes to say. And when it came to like our initial stop before we went to the major hospital to see about my wrist, we went to which was basically like I want to call it like almost like a clinic you would find in like the remote part of Africa or something. And I'm sure they had to do basically everything there. And so for me, what they had to do is they x-rayed me and they're like, well, if we can set it, we'll set it. But if we can't, we'll have to send you up to the big hospital. And so I imagine in that office too, like there was one doctor, a nurse, maybe a receptionist, that they have to do so many things and encompass so many things in order to do the work that they needed to do.
And plumbing. Yeah, they're totally multitaskers.
They're brilliant. People down here multi-hat. And when I say multi-hat, there's like 7 different jobs they all do.
Sure.
And that's what's so wonderful. They all help each other out and they all have to sort of cover gaps in services. And
they've all
Yeah, which is amazing. That's pretty incredible.
said how supportive they've felt from the Duchy of Cornwall as well in being able to do the work that was needed on the hospital.
That's good, Jamie. I'll give them a cup of tea and a biscuit later.
Good stuff. So it's a new hospital that's being built here.
So William obviously has some engagements that he's doing, which is great. And again, I like how he's doing more of these style interviews. I think this is awesome for him to do because I think it really does connect to people.
New wing of the hospital,
New
exactly.
wing.
So it hasn't been upgraded or expanded for quite a few years. And the NHS find it quite difficult to expand down here. And so we've done everything we can to allow that to happen.
Amanda and I
Oh, that's really cool because they're kind of filling the gap between what the NHS can do and what the Duchy can do under William's leadership.
Visited the hospital yesterday, and if they don't mind us saying, we thought that the staff room was looking a little...
Well, it looked a little bit under par, is what I'm going to say. And considering that's the place where the staff go to sort of de-stress and maybe have a cup of tea and everything
Oh, I think they're going to do something for the staff. This is going to be really sweet.
else, I thought I'd leave Alan Carr behind and get some professionals in to do a little bit of a rejig.
Yeah, so we've given it a makeover, and then we surprised Rosie, Dan, Charlotte, and Helen, who work at the hospital, with the results. Have a listen to this.
Very, very cute. Very cute idea. Because if you are in a rural environment for this, it is really tough.
Amy and I and our friends at DFS have done a little bit of changing around and swishing about and
Bit of a makeover.
plumping things. And yes, would you like to?
I'm not sure if I like that green color or not, because I would imagine that reminds people of something spewing.
Oh gosh, and I hope you like it. Can I just say that Alan Carr has had nothing to do with it, so everything will still be standing.
Okay, let's go take a look.
That's cute. That's cute. Just making sure. Oh, the guy had nothing to do with it.
Wow.
Aw, does look very cute.
Oh, that's so comfy looking.
Do you like it?
Don't touch the wall. The walls are probably still wet. You can.
Oh man, that's a little risky. But yeah, it looks good. It's like a nice, it kind of matches her outfit a little bit.
I love the smell of paint. What do you think? Because we sort of did it after the colour that you are.
Really lovely.
Charlotte, is it an improvement?
Oh, so much. It was quite drab in here, and it's nice and calm and
Nice and good. What do you think of the sofa?
Which I think is good, because if you are in a highly stressed environment, you need a nice place to chill and everything. And I think this definitely fits the bill.
is it comfortable?
It's part of my range at DFS. No, but they're really squidgy and really comfortable.
Well, I'm really happy. We're pleased you like it. And keep up the good work. You do an amazing job.
You really do.
Very, very sweet. I think this is a wonderfully sweet gesture from this team. And I think bravo.
I'm very envious. It must be an incredible place to work and to basically probably know every face that comes into the hospital in some ways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Everyone must feel super supported by all of you. So just well done for everything.
One of the things that
That's very cool. I really wish they would tone the music down.
we learned yesterday was that the community don't want to be reliant on the mainland.
No, they really don't. They want to just rely on each other.
They're very self-sufficient down here.
Just confusingly, though, I said this is a colour that you are, and there was a lady there called Basanko. Her surname was Basanko Green, and because the
Oh, that's so funny with her surname. That's hilarious.
walls are green, I said, well, look, that can be the new colour, Basanko Green, because Basanko is a very Cornish name.
Very
I think
nice.
I've said it right. But anyway, that's the colour green. It's Basanko Green.
Lovely, Amanda. a whole new type of shade.
I can't wait for you to see it. It's very minty.
Lovely, I love mint.
Now, of course, you are the Duke of Cornwall.
So we're getting into a little bit of a more serious question here. But again, I think this is a lovely, well done interview so far.
So we need to put you to the test. We've got some scones here with some jam and clotted cream. I think you know where this is going. There are two ways of doing this. There is the Devonian way. There is the Cornish way. My mum tells me off because she says I do it wrong.
Oh.
Oh yeah, these are the type of things I love, because these are just so incredibly adorable. Because it's like, okay, how do you do this? Because like, even as an outsider, this is something that we'd want to be aware of.
Our heritage. I'm going to tell you what I do first, which is I put the clotted cream on first. Everyone in Devon is cheering.
Wow.
And then I put the jam on the top. I do.
So I'm wondering now, guys, if that picture on Megan's As Ever was clotted cream that she was putting on. But it's like, again, why would you do that? You're not selling Britishness. Why would you do that if you're not selling Britishness? Sorry, going off script here. But now let's see how William will do it.
That because I think having cream on first is more grippy for the jam.
Good grippy cream, yes.
Good grippy cream.
They're not using As Ever, guys. How will they survive if they don't have As Ever jam or spread?
You can't beat clotted cream. Now, Prince William, what do you do? Think carefully.
I love that I'm the authority on scones.
I'm really looking forward to his answer, believe it or not, because I feel like this is something in the UK that would tell a lot about you is how you put your stuff on your scones. Like this is there's some sort of meme out there where if you do it this way, you're like this person. If you're doing it that way, you're like this person. Like this is like the ultimate litmus test for UK citizens here or something.
I can only tell you what I learned from my grandmother, and she
Oh.
would definitely, she had the cream on first.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, she does.
Okay, there
So
you go.
that is the Devonian way.
Cream on first, jam on top.
Okay. I mean, I don't think you can get any higher authority in the UK than what the Queen does. So
Always go with that.
But then the Cornish way is the jam first and then the cream on top. But then I think the jam makes the cream slippy and it slips off.
I
But
think
it
that
slips
makes
off
sense
into
too.
your mouth. So, I mean, that's not a
But
bad
it tastes
thing.
delicious either way.
It really does. I will
that is cute. I love that though. I feel like the chicken, well, it's kind of like a chicken or an egg debate, but you guys will have to let me know. I think, can I do this? Maybe or not. Oh, I can do a poll. Okay, we'll do a poll real quickly here within the comments. Okay. How do you put clotted cream? Or what is the order? Which do you prefer? Clotted cream on the bottom, then jam, or jam, then clotted cream? All right, so we will do, guys, a little poll here. I think I can do a poll. And so guys, I put a poll up. Hopefully you can see it. And then we'll have to see what the results are. Because I don't know. I haven't done it within a stream before, so I'm very excited. So we'll see.
have a bite of that.
I tell you what, we'll tuck into some scones.
Can we talk a little bit about Catherine? Because I just wanted to say how well she did in Italy. She's just come back. That was her first foray out there since her recovery.
Yeah.
How proud of you are.
So
Oh, that's so sweet. That's a greatly worded question.
proud. Like, I'm very, very proud. She's been amazing. She's been through so much in the last couple of years, particularly. And yeah, she's been looking forward to the Italian trip a lot. And so I'm really glad it went really well. And she wanted to go and do lots of research. She spends God knows how much time now looking through all the paperwork. She's a proper pro on early years. And
Which is very cool to hear. And I love that he was so excited for her to go, so excited to see. And I'm like so excited that she got to be able to do that. I think is fantastic, and that he's so supportive is absolutely lovely.
And so most evenings I'm fighting to get past in the bedroom all the paperwork that she's got lined up ready to read. So I'm so pleased it went well for her. And yeah, I think she came back buzzing.
Yeah, she did. I had no idea she spoke Italian either, did she?
Oh, so sweet. She came home buzzing, and she likes her bees. So
You do that?
I didn't actually. So she must have dusted that off from a while ago.
It must have been a very difficult time back then with the kids as well. And seeing her being able to sort of fulfill those duties must have made you feel very happy.
Yeah, very much so. She's an amazing mum and an amazing.
aw. So we get to hear William talk. Again, guys, I apologize for pausing, but we have to pause for a particular moment. So guys, let's go ahead and get back to it. And don't forget to vote in the poll.
Wife, and literally our family couldn't cope without it. So she's been absolutely stunning, really has.
And she says she wants to do more of those.
Yes, I think so. It kind of just sort of edging herself back into doing more and more of those trips. Away trips like that take a lot out of you because you're on sort of permanent receive and send the whole time. And so
Yeah, I imagine I have been sad not to see Catherine and William go out and do more trips like this, but I understand how from a perspective that it is able to kind of do more. So I see some people are saying they can't see the poll. I put the poll up. Oh, there we go. There we go. Somebody was able to vote. So maybe it's finally hold on. Show. No, it's there. Okay. So keep trying to vote, guys. It's there. But yeah, I imagine again getting back to this idea of foreign tours being very, very, because you're on like the whole time. So you don't really get as much of a break. You don't get to go home. And so you're still, let's say, on with, and this might sound bad, but you still need to be nice to the those at the hotel, and not that you wouldn't be, but you have to have this extra special, because like for me guys too, when I do my tours with everyone, which are so fun, when we do our RNN tours, it is a little bit more draining than some of my other things, because you do have to be you're hosting the whole time, and so that's just different than what I usually do.
We have to balance that, make sure she's okay and rested. But yeah, she's in good form.
You have to balance it with maybe a glass of wine and some pasta on the slide. I'm hoping that she grabs that.
We all need a glass of wine every now and again.
We do.
But we do know that Catherine does not partake in alcohol as much as she used to. So we do know that.
It's been quite a week, hasn't it?
Yes, what an amazing week for you.
That's funny. I don't know what you're talking about.
On Wednesday night, of course, Aston Villa won the Europa League final, and it made me excited watching it, seeing how excited you were.
Yeah.
Which I gotta say, guys, just as somebody who is a fan of certain things, I loved seeing William being a fan of something, because I just feel like that's something that I am not a fan of soccer or football. I don't really care, but I can appreciate somebody who is so passionate about something and it's going, yes, and like so excited and happy to see his team win was awesome.
Yeah, well, I try and remind myself that I am a football fan. I'm just going there to enjoy myself. But then I see the following day and I realize actually a lot of people are watching you. Stop doing that. But I got really into the moment, and you know I've been following Aston Villa most of my life, and so it was a huge moment for all Villa fans.
Yeah, so it's kind of like if you are, because I guess they haven't won in 40 years. It'd be like if you're a Detroit Lions fan or something. And you're in the United States, and Detroit Lions have never, I don't even think they've been to a Super Bowl. So it's like just the thrill and the joy of being a fan and seeing your team succeed is something that I'm sure just enlivens the heart.
And to celebrate the Europa League final, yeah.
Well, to celebrate, we have got you something very special. You don't have to eat them now. You can save them later, but...
I've got Amanda's done for you there.
Look at that. I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to make...
Oh, they got something for him. So they got a special Aston Villa little cupcakes or something.
These fantastic cupcakes
Oh, they're amazing.
with Aston Villa.
In the claret and
Thank you
butter.
very much. Yeah, exactly.
You don't have any allergies?
No, definitely don't.
Okay, no, I was just using my waitress speak then.
That is interesting. If you guys have never been to Europe, one of the first things they ask you when you sit down in a restaurant is, are there any allergies at the table? So that's not something they generally do. Like you can let them know you have an allergy in the US, but to go over and go, are there any allergies at the table, is definitely something that is very European specific.
Find out if I eat one.
Give us what was it like in Istanbul after the game? Did you you went down to the changing rooms?
Yeah, I did. Because I've known some of the guys now for seven or so years. I mean, Tyrone Mings, John McGinn, and Ollie Watkins and people like that. They've been there a long
I have no clue who any of those people are. I will just understand that they are members of Aston Villa. Yes.
time.
Yeah.
From the championship days when we got promoted. So following their careers and their family life and things like that has been really wonderful, and it's a real family club.
Yeah.
I was reminding them, quite a few Villa fans chatting to me after the game and also on the flight back on the plane, and it reminded me that it's a big local club, and I think that's the bit that really resonates with me. Is it's
So that's cool that he was chatting with all the fans. He's just like, and I love the fact that the Sussex squad jumped on this, that he's like, I have this secret account that I follow things on. And the Sussex squad is like, oh, he's following Harry and Meghan stuff. No, he only cares about Aston Villa. That's what he cares about. Like, he's like, that's where he's on his little watching on the computer. He's like, and spying and arguing with people. It's about Aston Villa. He doesn't care about Harry and Meghan. It's just funny.
everyone feels like it's a second family. There's loads of connections, and all of them have got family history there as well. So their dad or someone, or their granddad supported. And I love the idea that it's still such a wonderful family that's it hasn't gone so international that you kind of lost links with them.
Which is very cool. I'm sure if you watch something like Ted Lasso, you could probably appreciate a little bit of what William is talking about, or getting the understanding of a connection between a community and its soccer team, which is a little bit different, I would say, than a community's connection in the U.S. with their football team.
Can I ask, do you have a WhatsApp group with the players on? Do you message the players directly?
There's one or two I speak to, yeah.
We don't need to know what was on there.
I review their performances.
Yeah. Can you just remind?
Yeah, it's got to be careful probably what he says. But William, I think, has some close friends there, for sure.
Just why you are an Aston Villa supporter.
So childhood friends of mine took me to my first Villa game when I can't remember how old I was. It was about 2000, I think.
Yeah.
It was Aston Villa Bolton, and it was an FA Cup semi-final, and I went to watch that. And I remember sitting in there and going, "This is an amazing atmosphere."
That's really cool that he can remember the exact point. He's like, "This is the point. I became a fan." This is really interesting. Again, guys, sorry for the pausing, but we have to for copyright reasons.
All the Bromley fans were there, and I had my little claret and blue beanie on, and no one knew I was there, and I just got totally involved in the whole scene. And Paul Merson was playing at the time, and the whole club just felt fantastic. I mean, it connected with me. I felt that it's a club that I could support, and the values as well. It's very old.
So I like that he and it was a time too where there was so much attention on him, and then he had this feeling of anonymity being there. I think was also probably a big factor as well, and that he could just be part of the community was a huge deal to him.
English club, and I just thought that was fantastic.
I'm an Evertonian, so I know about old English clubs.
We've got one other present for you as well. And I'm sure this is the first.
Is that your old one, Jamie?
On the back, it's a little unfortunate. Yeah. They didn't have any letters.
Heart one, because William Hart's Aston Villa. That's really cute.
How many W's or
I's?
Budget cuts at heart.
So we gave you heart.
That's
but
very
you could
kind.
maybe wear it in bed.
I would.
Maybe you can be a sleep shirt.
That's very kind of man. Thank you so much.
I don't know if it's very breathable though. It's a bit of polyester.
I like how she's concerned. Is it breathable as you sleep? That's really cute.
We have been asking you to choose some songs for the show this morning. You're a key music fan, I know that.
Love my music, yeah.
So what sort of, would you say you had an eclectic taste or?
Some people say I have a terrible taste in music.
Who are those people?
Yeah, I'm curious what his taste is and who tells him his musical taste is terrible.
My friends, my family, pretty much. I like to think my music is motivational. So I like something with, a lot of beat, rhythm, quite fast.
Anthemic.
Yeah, I think just gets you in a good mood and I feels motivated. I literally feel energized by the music I listen to. I don't want to listen to things that are really sad.
No.
I understand that. I like my personal favorite music is piano, guys. That's probably what I listen to the most.
Dance music?
Love dance music.
Really? Do you go clubbing?
In my youth, Jamie, yes. I'm probably...
We're not going to go there.
No, exactly. Not anymore.
If there was one song that you would listen to for the rest of your life.
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I do have to admit that's an interesting. Again, this is a fairly softball interview, but I feel like even with the softball, it's substantive, if that makes sense. And they're asking engaging questions that relate to what they're doing. So I appreciate that.
Like just on rewind, play.
So these are the hardest questions I find anyone asks me because I find music for me is so personal to how you're feeling and what you describe. So it's almost like saying to me, like, who's your favorite person in the world? I can't answer that.
No,
but
you can't.
Yeah, that's a difficult question as well. I mean, I would imagine most of the time it's his wife, but he has the kids as well, and your kids become, as they get older, not right now, but the older they become more your friends and these sorts of things.
I love dance songs. I like motivational ones. I like things that give you real sort of inspiration because I feel inspired after I listen to certain music.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm being lowered into the ground to Dancing Queen.
Are you?
Just an FYI.
Really?
Yes.
Today or
It depends how this goes.
Oh, that's really funny. She's like, I'm being lowered into the ground and dancing queens. Oh.
You are on such a tight schedule today that unfortunately we're going to have to say goodbye.
Well, thank you. Means I can have some breakfast now.
Yeah, exactly. What is your go-to for breakfast? What would you have?
I'm normally quite...
Okay. I was random responded. What do you like for breakfast? Because I feel like that does also reveal a lot about a person is what they like for breakfast. And if they're a breakfast person or not. I find it interesting the people who are like super breakfast people and me, I'm like, I'll just take whatever.
Healthy, usually eggs. Yeah. Eggs on sourdough.
Oh, yeah, same. That's exactly what we're having in a minute.
Our boss has been listening. He's offered you your own show.
If you want it.
I'll do contractual arrangements off air.
It's been a real pleasure. And the work that the Duchy of Cornwall and you have been doing here is so important to...
Yeah, so that's a nice little bit there. I just thought I enjoyed this. This was fun.
I mean, Amanda and I have learned that over the last day or so. It's so important. So on behalf of them, thank you. And on behalf of all of us here, thank you for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on the show. Thank you guys for coming all the way down here. It's a long way to come.
Yeah, I would enjoy that job if I got to set up a whole studio near the beach. That would be awesome.
We are never going to leave.
All right, guys, that was the interview. I thought that was so incredibly fun. I hope you did too. I thought that was engageable. And if William just comes across like not even that he's trying hard, coming across as very relatable, which is an interesting comparison to Meghan Markle, who I feel like tries so hard to come across as relatable and doesn't. And this reflects, I think, the difference between who is, let's say, organic and natural and who isn't. Because William, I feel like here is being really just natural. He's being himself. He's answering the questions and these sorts of things, and he's just being off the cuff and not giving away too much because obviously you don't want to, but he's also being real at the same time. So that is a careful balance, but he's being relatable, but he's also not being going so far as to, but he's maintaining that air of dignity. Does that make sense? And so to that extent, I think William did a fantastic job on this interview. And we do have our poll up here, clotted cream on the bottom, then jam. I do apologize for missing the jam, or jam, then clotted cream. So it seems like 83% of y'all typed in one. And I see a lot of, oh, I guess you type one or two in the chat and then it pops up. Okay, cool. I will remember that for next time, guys. And so that is what our last poll. We will go ahead and pull it down just because we're going to move on to a different topic. But guys, that was fun. We'll have to do more polls like that. That is awesome. That is awesome. So it's still technically running. So if you still put in one or two, it'll still run. But I just went ahead and hid the poll just so we can move on. But we do have some super chats here that came in. We do have Diz fan. Thank you so much, saying, I agree. But I don't think Charles understands the magnitude of dealing with Harry. Just look at the backlash he got with Andrew. Yes. But I think there's more interest and support for Charles on this topic than he might think. And he's just going to have to deal with the reality that people are going to be unhappy no matter what he does at this point, because you've come to this kind of crossroad where nobody's going to be happy. No matter what you do, people are going to be upset. And you just have to kind of be the leader and lump it. You have to lump that part of being leader is that people are going to be upset with your decisions, and you can't totally help that. And so I think Charles just has to buck up. That makes sense. He just has to buck up here and just write it out. We have Baseline 1989. Thank you so much for the super chat as well. Said, this dynamic with William and Harry is similar to me and my younger brother because he views William as an equal and views Harry as a child still. Yes. So I think you're right here. William still sees Harry as a kid. And I think Harry's behavior does not encourage him to see Harry any other way, to be honest. But this Harry and William dynamic is going to be a challenge for them to get through. And William's going to have to be making the hard decisions that Harry is going to be deeply upset about. But I don't think it can be avoided either, to be quite honest. And we do have this fan as well. Another super chat. Thank you, saying the public outcry if Charles stripped the titles of the line of succession would be enormous and positive, because we have been asking for this for years. Yes, I think it would be positive, but he would have people who are upset. And I understand his desire not to mess too much with line of succession. Sorry, I needed a little water. So I do totally understand that. But he has to deal with it. He just does. And people are going to be upset. And people would be excited, but at the same time, there would be people upset. There would be people questioning the reasons for doing it. Are they doing the right thing? Like, he'll get, again, pushback either way. So it's better just to bite the bullet and run forward with what you have rather than just going, I don't know. Like, we'll just let Harry be over there in the corner and doing whatever he's doing and crying on cue or whatever. And just like right. No. Just make the tough decision, Charles. I think he'll be better off for it. All right. Vaseland, thank you so much for another super chat. $10 saying William is the prince people are desperate for. He is authentic, not afraid of being seen as human, not this perfect out of touch idea that no one can relate to. He understands his privilege. Yes. And he understands how to be relatable, and not be afraid of a question. Like, I feel like Harry would be deeply afraid of a question of, what do you eat for breakfast? And he'd be like, oh, how dare you ask that? You are invading my privacy. And William, again, understands the difference between actual invasions of privacy and just a question that's easy to answer. Hey, what do you have for breakfast? Yeah, I like eggs. I like being healthy. I like kind of front loading my day with protein, having a little bit of sourdough bread. Like that's what he likes, and he's amazing for it. And I think he does a great job of being just really, really authentic. And I think it shows through and being human. And again, that Aston Villa, he's such a fan of the sport. He's there because he loves the sport. He's not there just for the clicks and the engagement and to be seen being there, which I feel like is so much of Megan's motivation for things is just I want to be seen there. No, he really cares because, like, guys, what happened to Meghan Markle's concert era? She went to a bunch of concerts and then, as far as we're aware, has not gone to a concert all year this year. I thought you were a concert girl. I thought you loved concerts. What happened to the concerts? Well, I think she didn't really care that much about the concerts. It was about being seen at the concerts. Whereas William goes to the soccer games. Yes, he kind of goes in his official function as the Prince of Wales, but he also goes because he really loves the games. He really freaking loves the games. And so I think that reflects in his actions and motivations and excitement, and I think that's something we can all appreciate. All right, we have Stephen Magnus. Thank you so much for the £5 super chat. Said 1 year we were down in Rock, a popular windsurfing sailing place. Harry and William were there. Hundreds of ladies swarmed to see them in wetsuits. I imagine that was true for sure. For sure, 100%. Women flocked. They were very excited. So that was when I'm sure they were younger and probably more single. KN Kareen says, it was a fantastic interview. William is very charismatic, also loves the rugby interview with him, wife, and Princess Anne a few years ago. Yes, KN, thank you so much for the super chat. And you're right. I think this was another great, relaxed interview. I like that William's doing some of these interviews. It's interesting that, again, he got quite deep with Eugene Levy, but he's kind of avoiding some of the Royal Rhoda. I think somebody mentioned that in the chat too. Avoiding some of the Royal Rhoda in his interviews with, which I thought was really, really, really interesting. And so thank you so much. And Princess Goose says, has there been any major concerts this year? That I don't know. So that could be an issue. But if you're such a music person, I would think you would know the concerts and go to the concert that you're passionate about. But again, I just don't think Megan's much of a music person. And we did have Alice Ransom Rave says, do you think Harry will go to a World Cup game? That is a very interesting question and leads us into, who's been a member for 33 months. Thank you so much. Leads us into, let's say, a larger discussion over royals attending World Cup games. We do have confirmation that King Wilhelm Alexander, Queen Maxima, and maybe Amalia, I don't think we got confirmation, but they will be attending 2 World Cup games on June 20th and 21st in the United States. And we've had a lot of discussions. And I actually talked about this with Dan earlier today. Sorry, I just whacked my desk with my chair. But that George may travel over separately, hopefully, with William to view a soccer match here in the United States for the World Cup. And so I think that would be quite interesting. And that's because we haven't heard much more about the potential for Catherine and William arriving for the 250th anniversary of the United States. We haven't heard too much more about that. Of course, that could change. And it would be one of those things where it would be super cool if William was there, William attended. I imagine he will. We just don't have any confirmation. And I imagine this could potentially replace a planned July 4th trip if they decide they don't want to do the July 4th trip. That's a possibility. And again, we don't know. It was like around the time. Don't know if it was the time. Like there were a lot of different factors there. But I think it's kind of interesting that William might attend. And we'll see a lot more royals. So I'm hoping, because it is the United States, I don't have, let's say, the FIFA Cup 2026 schedule and locations, because that's going to be interesting. And that will determine, I mean, obviously the World Cup is huge. Like I'm like there going, oh, I can just go to any game I want. No, that's not how this works. That's not going to be how any of this works. And so 104 matches. And okay, so here we have, guys, the map of cities. So the closest to me would probably be Atlanta. Obviously, you have one in Los Angeles. I imagine Harry would go there. You have San Francisco, Seattle, Vancouver. You have a couple in Mexico, Monterrey, Mexico City, Guadalajara. You have Houston, Texas, Dallas, Texas, Kansas City. You have Toronto, Boston, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and Miami. So Atlanta would be the closest one to me, most likely. And so, I mean, we'll have to see. There definitely may be a possibility. It depends on who's going and who's attending. But and if I could get like press, I would most likely require press because I'm probably gonna get tickets. But in the United States, the difference is the United States compared to something like we don't care about the FIFA World Cup. So I don't know. But yeah, Lynn Gideon says you couldn't pay me to get into the thick with that many people. I would only go if I could probably get press. That would be the only reason I would go. And yeah, Michelle says the tickets are really expensive. They are. And so like if I could go as some sort of press, I would maybe go, but that would be about it because I'm not paying a fortune and maybe not being able to even see the royal. That would be annoying. But it'd be fun to definitely see a royal if they're here. I'm still really bummed, guys. I missed Queen Maxima and King Wilhelm Alexander touring the United States. I really wanted to be part of that, but with what I had going on at with moving and everything and with traveling to Sweden later that month, there was just no way. No way. So would not have been possible. So we'll just jump on the last few bits here. And this was on, I guess, Palace Confidential, saying that Meghan was trying to utilize goodwill from her wedding to plug As Ever, which of course we all know is true and what she was attempting to do. I don't think it particularly worked. I got another email from Meghan, like who just sent one on Wednesday. We got one now on Friday going, honey. I'm like, okay. I don't really need to see the honey one. And it's just, yeah. I think she wants to have people think of times when things were better. And I think that's part of it as well. And so we have also Mike Tyndall talking about, I knew Harry when he was fun. That's the headline, but that's also kind of the quote. There's not much more than that, but it's like, I just remember Harry when he was a fun guy. And I was like, yeah, he's not so fun anymore, is he? And I think that's not, I mean, that's something that's been so sad to see is Harry going from the jovial, the fun royal to the obnoxious, annoying, oh, do we have to deal with this man royal type of thing? So I do think that's quite sad. And then we have Richard Eden talking about how William obviously making changes to the Duchy of Cornwall will impact and change how things are run with in general with the royal family and very much something that Harry and Meghan should be afraid of. And I do think they should be worried about William. Do you think Harry and Meghan should be worried about William? I think William will make the decision. Charles can't. And I think again, the situation with Andrew comes back to is that you let this. I'm saying you as the general monarchy as an institution. You let Andrew run around for years and years and years and years. And now it's blown up in your face and you're just constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. And the only way for the monarchy to get ahead of this is to basically cut up the head off the snake and just go, okay, there's no more titles, there's no more nothing. There's nothing else tying Harry to this institution. He's out, he's done, his wife is done, his kids are done, like all of it is done. There's just no other way to do that. You that's what you have to do to survive. So that's Charles's only option. But we did have a couple more things pop up here. Stephen Magnus said Meghan's the TIG trademarks abandoned 18th of May, which I'm not surprised. TIG was a terrible name. It was a really bad name. And I'm not surprised she abandoned it. But now she's going full on with As Ever, which is not doing particularly well. She keeps trying to sell the As Ever pantry, and it turns out, Meghan Markle, nobody wants your pantry. Oh, and the chocolate, guys, is still available. I'm just looking at this right now. The chocolate, guys, is still available. Still available. So how much of that really, really mattered? Oh, and now they've added a new option. This is just kind of interesting. So on Meghan Markle's, so now you can add things for full price, by the way. I would think if your pairs well with, if you're going to add something, just go ahead and full on add it, you know, or like add it with a little bit of a discount. Then you might actually get people to buy it. But if you're already asking them to spend, how much is this? Oh, $295. If you're already asking people to spend $300, why are they going to spend an additional $60 on some crappy chocolate? Probably not. Probably not. We have Lizzie B who gifted a $5 super sticker. Why, thank you so much, Lizzie, and also gifted 1 Royal News Network membership. Why, thank you so much, Lizzie. I'm sure somebody in the comments, I saw the thank you, really did appreciate that. So, guys, that is essentially all that I have for you today. So this was fun because it wasn't really Harry and Meghan focused at all. So that was a lot of fun. And we got to watch a great interview. Hopefully I don't get a whole big copyright strike from it. So, sorry, I think about that so much because it can really mess you up. So I hope you guys all enjoyed that because I certainly did. And I enjoyed hearing William just share about what's going on in their life just a little bit, not much. But I think actually the most little interesting tidbit was that George is boarding and he's kind of checking out boarding. So he's boarding some and not boarding other times, which I think is just a very, very little sweet little hint about what is going on behind the scenes. So guys, if you guys have a couple of questions here to wrap up, we will go ahead and do so because it was fun interview, a great interview, but there's other things going on. But again, yeah. Stacy says, Brittany, you read your last video. I am trained. I usually watch at bedtime, so I don't have my glasses. I look for the red with the white lettering. I know it's something so silly. And I do the same purple background with white lettering. And, it's so weird. It's so weird to say you train your audience, but you do. Like all businesses, you have your audience to you train them to recognize certain things. That's what you do. Like the Stanley mugs, like you have the logo, you have maybe the design kind of as a hint because you want or like Bath and Body Works. I think they pretty much own. Oops. They pretty much own this style of thing. If I saw this from a distance, I would know it's probably Bath and Body Works, given the size and dimensions and everything. They may have this whole thing patented. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, your job is to kind of get people through your font and different things to sort of like instantly know it's you, and that's what I tried to do. Which again sounds super weird, but Vinji. Shiva says, it was a wonderful interview and was lovely hearing how Prince William tries to keep himself positive and energized. Very good. And that's a great point, Benji, because I didn't think about what has happened over the last years with Catherine's diagnosis, Charles's diagnosis. He probably needs those uplifting songs more than ever, especially in dark days. So that's a great point. Aaron Scout, like Botan. Yes. Asma says, Charlotte is 11 now. She is. She was born in 2015. Lynn Gideon says, yes, red with white lettering. It works. It works. Red is a color too that draws the eye. That's also what you look to is things that draw the eye. Alice says, so he's a day boarder. That's cool. Yeah. Lizzie B says, will the Midland giveaway be open to subscribers or members? Just members. I need to figure out exactly what we shall do, but it will be for, hold on. I saw it earlier. Now I've lost it. I have the open one, but there's a box here. It'll be the golden hour oil and the little lip balm, which I really like the lip balm. It's Liptastic balm. Do need to give you guys the full-on review for that. I was just waiting for somebody to share with me a little bit, particularly about the baby products, the products that are specifically for baby, giving me their thoughts on it, using it on a baby, because I haven't. I will say overall, I have some issues with the packaging in terms of the brightness and how readable it is, but I am sort of liking the cleanser that they have. It's not something that's going to take your makeup off. It's not something super stringent, but it does make you feel nice and refreshed, Len Gideon says, it's like the color green when looking at Starbucks. Exactly. Starbucks has that green. I'm sure that is copyrighted and owned by them, that color green. I think you can do those type of things. And the font and everything. Yeah, Azima says George is going to be 13. He is, which is crazy. He's officially a teenager. Lavita says, I'm going to Ireland next summer and spending a day or two in London. Where should I stay? So I will share with you my system, which I don't usually share, but I particularly have come to sort of like this hotel, and it's tends to be fairly cheap, but it is the Hilton in Kensington. That's generally where I stay. I've stayed at other ones as well, but I've stayed there. You're right next to Shepherd's Bush Station. It's right next to the Shepherd's Bush Station. I would say get a higher floor or one maybe that faces more of the courtyard rather than the road, because the road can be a bit noisy, but it's right next to a massive shopping mall. So if you need food, if you need toiletries, if you need clothes or anything, like you can get it all at the mall. It's really in short walking distance. And again, you have the Shepherd's Bush Station, which is on the Red Line. I have stayed on the Circle and District line when I stayed near the Tower of London last year. Kind of sort of hated staying on the Circle and District line. I prefer the Central line, which is the Red Line. And I don't know, that might neither be here nor there, but I prefer the Circle line. No, sorry. I prefer the Central line being off the Central line. I feel like it cuts through London really well and you can catch any station pretty easily. But but you're a little bit outside, so you do pay a smidge more. You can walk one way to Shepherd's Bush, or you can walk to the next station over, which is not Queensway, but the one in between, I think. And you can catch that, or you can go walk all the way down to the Queensway station if you want to. And you can walk to Kensington Palace too. And so, yeah, that's generally where I stay. Not all the time, but that is where I stay. I tend to stay at particular hotel chain just because I get free breakfast now, and that helps me a lot. But I love it, and it's pretty easy to get. Central line is nice because it totally cuts through the central London really fast, and so you can get to the other places. Circle and District line, if you are near a hotel that is that preferred station or that's the closest station, it is highly congested. It's the main line of transport to like museums and things. So I would avoid staying near just central. Like you'll get across town, but it's a lot of stops, very highly congested, takes you longer because there's more stops. So that's just my personal preference. Princess Goose says, I love that Stanley mug. Is that a rose on the mug? Yes. Yeah, so this is the Love Shack Fancy collaboration. So that's another brand that has a particular, you can see the Love Shack Fancy. Yeah. So I got this. Well, I just thought the little, it's just felt very Britney. And so I got that, and I was like, I don't really care about the Stanley mug obsession, but I like that, and I've kind of liked having the long handle like this. So there's no side handle. It works. So Squirrel Lot says, thank you, Brittany, for this fantastic live. You do it so well. Wishing you the best, and pats for Ms. Pippo. Why, thank you. Riley's US says, as ever, as a marketing manager, it tells me bland and boring basic products are not unique, as they have only white labeled. She didn't even go out of the way to produce products from scratch. Very true. I 100% agree. Riley's US. It's very boring and basic. And I think as ever could work in more of, let's say, a whimsical way, but Meghan Markle's not doing whimsical. I think as ever would lend itself to more something more like Love Shack Fancy a little bit. This is, again, Love Shack Fancy, that like kind of catches, whoa, Love Shack Fancy. What does that mean? So Stephen Magnus says, stands out. So much unsold stock on the shelves. Yes. Ender Chrome is being investigated. Andrew is being investigated. Yes, we covered that in the beginning of the video. Alice says, branding is so strong that they know that even if people are referring to Pepsi taste, they respond more positively to Coca-Cola branding. That's true. I would imagine that's true. Branding in the look and everything, like it's so huge, and the people don't appreciate it as much as they should sometimes. Clifford said he is just a humble prince. Yes, he is. Princess Goose says, bland and boring also describes Meghan, and also says UK colors. Yes. Yeah. Azima says, say hi to Miss Pippa for me. I will. She's chilling around here somewhere. She's sleeping. She's very excited to be part of the general puppy patrol of the area. So she was barking her head off earlier. Carol said, especially with Polar Bear and Santa Claus for holiday time. Yeah. Tina says, a class says, red is also meant for good luck. Well, my tradition is. Oh, that's cool. Len Gideon says, I usually stick with oil of Olay, but curious to see your review. I have used their product to kind of get your, let's say, makeup off, and it has worked fairly well. It worked really well, actually. Princess Goose says, can't wait for the giveaway. Yeah, I know. I need to get it together. So sorry. Girl said Siren with Starbucks also. Yes. And actually, believe it or not, what my dad mentioned this once and stuck with me. Target's logo is a literal Target. So it's like a logo and a logo. And if you see that logo, you know it's Target. Like that's, again, really good branding. Eric Asania says, talking about children in current situations is bizarre. Andrew is not a joke. Shaz says, Costa is burgundy and white. My daughter is a manager of one of their shops. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Marjorie says, Hampton at Hilton at Waterloo is very central and good for transport. Great chat. Good night. Good night. Yeah. Benji says, Westfield Shopping Center. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's a big shopping center. I will say I hear a fair amount of cop cars go by in the evening times so that's why I don't particularly like to, like I've decided after last time, I don't want to stay on a bottom floor, but it's pretty cheap, to be honest. Like one time I was looking, it was like £100 a night. And it is a little bit outside of town, but honestly, the Central Line gets you anywhere really quickly. I would say I moved across town faster staying at that hotel than I did like closer to like the Tower of London, which I did not like staying in that part of town just because it felt so far removed. Central Line, for some reason, I just like the Central. I love the Central Line. Lynn Gideon says, I don't mind paying more if it's a great product. Very true. There was actually an interesting Kevin O'Leary article. He's one of the sharks on Shark Tank. And he was talking about how his mom, and I don't know how much money she had, but she obviously had a fair amount because she, I guess once a year would buy a really nice Chanel jacket. And he's like, you got a lot of crap in your closet, saying generally to the world. He's like, invest in good clothing and invest in a small amount of it and it'll last you for a long time. And I don't think he's wrong. I probably invested too much in clothing. Shaz says there's a lovely hotel just outside Hyde Park and it's easy to get around London. Yeah. Benji says, I don't live far from there. Yeah, it's a nice area. Or I mean, not perfect, but good enough. Garrett says, hi, Brittany, and good day to you. Why, thank you. Benji says it's for a brilliant shopping mall and center. It is and it's nice if you need something or if it's a day where you don't really need to go out and do much. You can just walk to the mall, which might sound lame, but man, sometimes that jet lag really kicks your butt. Sir Squirrelot says, I've stayed at the Green Park Hotel. Station is right there and walking to the palace is easy. Might not be nice anymore. It depends. Obviously, it always depends on what part of town. But I will say, the hotel I stayed at was a DoubleTree by the Tower Bridge. And what's really cool is that they filmed part of the new Jack Ryan series there or Jack Ryan movie. So I was like, I need to watch it because it's like I could see him setting it all up. I didn't really see him filming it, but I could see him setting it all up. And I think we saw part of the filming. So I'm like, I'm curious. Len Gideon says, Rachel the Curious Pilot does a great video about what's wrong with the As Ever marketing. Yeah, and there's a lot. Lizzie B says, and if she wasn't on all the promos, I think, well, it's not just the promos because Gwyneth Paltrow is a part of a lot of the Goop promos, so I understand. But Megan is the only one in the promos. That's a problem. And the brand is all about her. Like everything is named after her. Everything's named after her kids, her husband, all these sorts of things. And I think that's really off-putting to people after a while because it's like, okay, but like I get it. It's your brand. You can do what you want, but it's like, but why? I think that's a big thing. And Garrett says, and As Ever is way overpriced. That is also true. Aram Scout says, As Ever is, in my opinion, an old woman's brand for old women. So Carol says, As Ever is tied too closely to Megan's identity. Megan needs to separate it from Megan. She needs to clear the stock and go back to the drawing board. I agree. It's a little bit too much. It's very much too about Megan. And that's, I think, off-putting to people. Sir Squirrelot says, Brittany, what are the size of your earrings? They look very good on you. Why, thank you. So these are, I would have guessed they're about maybe equivalent to like 1.5 carats. So I wear them a lot. They're from Ana Lucia. And so they have like a little flower of diamonds. So they look like a stud and they're not. Unfortunately, they don't sell this one anymore, but this is my go-to to wear every day. I probably wear it a little too bit too much, but I think there's something very just classy about a stud. Not that I don't change my earrings out, guys, I do. But I tend to just leave these guys in. And I like Anna Lucia gifted me, I can't remember if it's 1 or 2 carat stud diamonds, but they screw into the back. And so to get them on and off is a bit of a pain. So I don't wear them quite as often because these are just easy to take out, especially if I want to change my earrings out for like the day or the afternoon or something. If I travel, I tend to, not always, but I will more likely put the big studs in just because I can screw them in and keep them in. But they're just a little bit more cumbersome to get in and out. So that's why I'm a little don't put them in quite as often as I would love to. But I understand why, because you need to keep them protected. So it's like I understand, but I'm also like, darn, I can't put them in as quite as often. But if I lose these, then I won't feel quite as bad, though, as if I lose big studs. Lavinda says, I think Prince William and Princess Catherine are genuine. You can tell. Yeah, you can definitely tell. Riley's US says, not a huge fan of Kardashians, but seeing Skims products have tempted me to get some of their shapewear or at least dupes of them. Yeah, I would say go ahead. I'd like sometimes, you know what? The hype is worth it. The hype is there for a reason and it actually works. Sometimes it's just people being crazy, but sometimes the hype is real. Alice Ransom Ray says, Brittany, do you think Megan wanted American Riviera Orchard and was forced to change as ever, or was it her idea? I think American Riviera Orchard would have probably been Megan's idea because it's a bad name. I think Netflix could have done better if she had let them have full control. But yeah, she was forced to change because she couldn't trademark it. And they're like, oh, no, no, no. And so as ever was another idea she was kind of feeling out. And so she went with that one. But again, I feel like what she did was like, oh, we'll just take everything we were going to do with the American Riviera Orchard and put it on as ever. But to me, if you change the name of a brand, you need to rethink the entire brand. I know. It's like annoying and a pain in the butt, but that's what you need to do. Princess Goose says Amazon from A to Z. All right. Lynn Gideon says Coke's branding really started in the 70s and with I'd like to teach the world to sing. Oh, yeah, that's true. I think I've seen those commercials. Riley's USA. Love seeing London at Christmas time, all the Christmas markets and all, but boy, Oxford Street is super crowded. Yes, Oxford Street, if you go to London, Oxford Street. I would say that's one of the high pickpocket areas. So be very careful with your stuff around Oxford and Bond Street stations and the stores up above. I usually go to Oxford Street or the Oxford Street station, I should say, which I think is Oxford Street. I usually go there because the John Lewis is there and the John Lewis has relatively cheap fascinators. So I like going to the John Lewis, but yeah, it's not it's very congested. They have the Selfridges there. They used to have more, it was down Bond Street. So, excuse me. They used to have more stores down Bond Street, like the Smithsons. They had LK Bennett. Those two have both closed. They had Fenwick, which is also closed. And so Bond Street is where the high-end stuff is, but that's gone kind of downhill. So I was looking again. I found a great deal on a Air Dem dress, which I haven't been able to wear yet, that I found on Bond Street. Laurel says, how about you be quiet and listen to the interview? You are annoying. Why, thank you. And as I explained, Laurel, many, many times, you stop for copyright reasons. Yes. About 10 to 15 seconds is sort of the sweet spot to get away with utilizing and adding commentary to somebody else's content. That's why you cannot just steal my content and let it play for 5 to 10 minutes because I will copyright strike you. Yes. Or somebody will, or somebody might. You just can't do that. You just can't do that. It's somebody else's content, somebody else's work. And while you're commentating over it, you can't just let it play. Princess Goose said, I agree with you. Great products. I look at a lot of reviews and determining if to spend money. Clifford said, how is unpacking going? It's going fairly well. I had to pick some things up because we had guests. And so I kind of shoved things places. But I had something I built where I could put my computer. I have my rolling desk now back as a rolling desk. I have a little side desk thing, but more to do. Eric Sania says 100 pounds a night to catch a disease from a previous person. I don't think that's much of an issue. Riley's USA says Jessica Albed founded Honest Products. It stands for its own without Jessica Albed's connection. Yes, and she made a boatload of money off of that for sure. Svenji says since Megan keeps herself in the prove it game, I find it surprising she didn't try to go onto the business of baby or child. Maybe it could have made her more relatable. Maybe. I don't know though, because that's like she's choosing very saturated markets. I honestly think she should have gone into stationery. I don't know why she didn't go into stationery because she loves her fancy cursive. Create fancy cursive pens. Teach fancy cursive. Like have courses. Like that would sell for a boatload. And honestly, there's something I see that's on and which I really want to do for content. It's called like Sip and Scribe or something. It's like a wine night where you sip and they teach you how to write basically the way Meghan Markle does. And it's like, okay, Meghan Markle could do that, but I think she's worried about people stealing her ways. Lynn Gideon says Meghan Markle doesn't seem to understand how disliked she is. She definitely doesn't. She definitely doesn't. And Clifford said, poor Archie is an afterthought. He is. Eric Stania says, staying in hotels is vile when you understand how angelic and disgusting people are. Yes, but you don't really have an option. I'm sorry, but I think I'm not really a fan of Airbnbs. So I don't know what exactly you want people to do except for like buy places, which is not possible. So you have to stay in a hotel. That's just life. Lizzie B says, exactly. She's portraying a hostess with no people around. Yeah. Coastal Angel says, Meghan would be better to separate herself completely from the royals. She trashed it on the way out. So it seems weird to constantly reminisce about it. Yeah, especially if she's doing like clotted cream on that sandwich or whatever. It's like, just let it go. Just embrace your Californianess. Like stop trying to, because it's straddling 12 worlds. That really means they can't conquer one. She's trying to do too many things. Shaz says, those two babies need protecting from their parents, not just mama, but papa too. Lynn Gideon says, screws on the back are a pain by fear, but the fear of loss is loosened. Yes, very true. Mansell says, anyone win the giveaway? I entered by commenting diamond, hoping I'm the winner. Yeah, we did have a winner. I think it was Kim Buckingham. So she was the winner. I announced it on community pages and I commented under her comment as well. And so that has all been settled with Ana Lucia. So I'm so sorry, Jay Mansell, that you didn't win, but maybe in a future contest. Shaz says yes, and they still dress St. Nick the way in Germany or when they did when I lived there. Alice says, Meghan thinks that she's a draw for people and slowly realizing that it's not, it's Harry. Yes, I think that's what Switzerland definitely showed. Coastal Angel says, when Meghan shared things about children, she always mentioned keep. Yeah. Tam says Skims has some great products. Coastal Angel agrees, but thinks they are too pricey. Riley says her copying Flamingo Estate was horrible. Flamingo is a niche luxury brand, as ever is not. Yes, exactly. And you don't want to copy someone. You want to take inspiration from someone, but you don't want to copy because copying is just the poor man's excuse. You can be inspired. There's tons of things I'm inspired by, but don't copy. Carol said, as ever lacks passion and it doesn't have a market niche in the industry. Well, it could have, but Meghan's never been able to create one. Mary Steele says, I think I saw an RNN crown necklace on a co-host of another YouTube channel. Yes, you saw it probably on Katie Nickel. So she is now, she's a brand ambassador, I think it is, with Ana Lucia. So she is wearing that lovely crown necklace as well. Shaz says, when a Coke advert is on, we know it's coming up to the Christmas holidays are happening. Yes. Oh, and my other my favorite personal Christmas commercial, which I love seeing every year, is the M&M one, where they're walking into and Santa's putting down presents, and they go, the red one is going, he doesn't exist, and like Santa and the M&M come face to face, and he goes, they do exist, and they both faint. And then the yellow M&M goes, Santa. That's my favorite commercial. Eric Stania says John Lewis is not cheap. Well, it's cheaper compared to like the 700 or 800 pound plus fascinators. They're like 50, 60, 70 pounds. I would consider that fairly cheap. We're good quality. Elephant Wanderer says Andrew will never see the inside of the cell. He's too well protected. I just don't really think that's the case. Again, people have this conspiracy that all the wealthy are protected. They'll never be prosecuted. That's just not true. Some guys, there's just ain't enough evidence. Princess Goose says, if you're from the southern U.S., you know it started way before that. Many people have collected old Coke signs glasses in their homes. Yeah, I just actually bought some glass Coke bottles because it had 250 for America's anniversary. So Riley's USA says, William and Catherine are unafraid to make fun of themselves, and they are able to do so while keeping their dignity and royal mystique. Shows maturity and intelligence. Harry and Meghan could never. I agree. J Mansell says, I feel like if Meghan did a recipe on her roast chicken, that could work. She always went on and on about her and Harry and the roast chicken. But then what else would she have? We have fingerprint cookies, a charcuterie board, and one pot pasta and roast chicken. That's all the woman can make, apparently. Which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not a particular I'm not a particular prestige chef or anything, but I would be honest in saying my best contributions in the kitchen are Mexicana. And that's pretty much it. I can make a pretty mean Mexican meal. Tam says her fancy cursive gives me a headache. Princess Goose says, I wanted to go on Brittany's Christmas market tour. It was fun. I've debated doing it again, but it's honestly hard to travel in the winter season. So just don't know if I would do it again. And I got sick on that trip, which really sucked. And I got other people sick, which really sucked because I felt so bad. QT says, Meghan is not good with children or babies. That is true. So I think she would kind of stink at that. And she's not really into children. Lynn Gideon says she should take her handwriting and turn it into a font and then sell it. Yeah. Alice Ransom Ray says, totally agree, Brittany. She should have gone stationary gift wrapping, all that stuff. She might do well at it. Yeah, because that seems to be what she liked. And there's nothing wrong. Like, I focus on royals because it hits 4 major things for me. I do like a little bit of the drama, but I love the history, I love fashion, I love the jewelry. And so all those 4 things are all things I like. And so you feel the passion coming through. Now, granted, I've been neglecting the fashion channel. Guys, I know that. I'm so sorry. The illness this week, the travel, just and so hopefully we'll get back to it. Oh, I heard Miss Pippa. Let me see if I can get Miss Pippa to come in here. Pippa P, come here. Baby girl. Oh, I hear her coming, guys. She's coming. There she is. You want to help me read the last little super chats, Miss Pippa? Why, hi. Were we napping? Are you telling me it's dinner time? Are you waking up to tell me it's dinner time? Is it dinner time? Your eyes are so closed. You're like, oh, mommy, those lights are so bright. I was sleeping and now those eyes are too bright. I love it when her little bottom legs, they twitch. She's like, oh. Okay, so let's read the last couple ones, Miss Pippa. Sir Squirrel says Meghan only copies. That is her real jam. Elizabeth Griffins says a few minutes behind, but about boarding. And it sounds like they have friends who board. So sometimes they stay, sometimes they don't. William mentioned family debates about boarding in the car. Oh, yeah. Very true. Lynn Gideon says inspiration, but not imitation. Exactly. Clifford said Switzerland showed her that she's nothing. Wonder who is using who. Oh, Tam says the Budweiser horses. The Budweiser horses are awesome, especially at the Super Bowl. Princess Goose says, I love the polar bears at Christmas from Coca-Cola. Yeah, we have love Budweiser horses at Christmas and Super Bowl commercials. Yeah. Eric Sania says, Christmas when you haven't got family is horrible. Yeah, and I feel for those people immensely. And hopefully they have friends who can help them have the best season possible. Coastal Angel says, Meghan said she is vegan and talked about roast chicken. Very true. Barbara Stewart says, the best thing I make is reservations. I feel ya. Stacy says her writing is just old-fashioned cursive with those added arcs on the letters. Ridiculous. Very true. Princess Goose says, I love your fashion opinions even when I don't agree. Why, thank you. Benji says Miss Pippa is super cute. Yes, she is. And I think she just tooted in front of me because I smell something not so pleasant. Lizzie B says, I wonder what tiara Peter's fiance will wear on her wedding day. I know his ex-wife was lent the festoon, if I'm not mistaken. Any predictions? So, yeah, that's a great question. I could honestly see her not wearing a tiara. She could wear one, but she could also not. Another option, so since obviously Autumn wore the festoon, We could have the pine flower tiara. That would be an interesting choice. But for some reason, I'm feeling no tiara, but I could be wrong. Alice Ransom Ray says, I don't think, though, she'll get the Greek key one because that's the one that Zara wore. Alice Ransom Ray says, Miss Pippa. Sylvie the kitty says hi. Hi. Miss Pippa says hi. Lauren says, Miss Pippa. Oh, Princess Goose says, you're so beautiful, Miss Pippa. And Miss Pippa says, thank you. She needs to go to the groomers, though. Tam says, you're right. Megan should have gone and done gift wrapping and stationery. She was more excited about her packing than her products. It's so true. I don't know why she didn't do it. I don't know why. It's weird that Megan press. It's weird Megan's press to mention she sells jam, yet she doesn't at all. Shows no one cares to point it out. Yeah. Rick and Cindy G says, Miss Pippa, you are adorable. She says, thank you. Lauren says, time for to feel my furry angel. Yeah, our feet. I saw your correction. Carol says, I don't know if this is both the second marriage. The festoon was Anne's personally. Anne has a few tiaras. Sloan, we'll see. Yeah, Riley's says, hard to see what Megan is passionate about. Not film, theater, music, knowledge, nothing. Says she's into Jeopardy, but her moaning about not knowing the UK culture and national anthem is shameful. Yeah, very much. Stacey says, how much does Miss Pippa weigh? She weighs a grand total of 9 pounds. About. Lavinda says, thank you so much. Really looking forward to forward. Yeah. Riley says, Megan is a total shame compared to Queen Mary and Queen Maxima. These women had to learn new languages and new cultures. Megan complained about super easy UK national anthem. So true. When Gideon says, I must not be a girly girl, but I had the option to wear a tiara, I'm doing it. So true. And it would be probably her only time. Shaz says, I have an Aldi Kelvin and the carrot, and he got married last year and got a collie dog. Oh. Riley's USA says, Megan is a total shame. Oh, yeah. We already got that one. Clifford says she never seemed to use or eat her own products. Yes, I think that's a shame against marketing if Megan doesn't use hers. I just watched Gwyneth Paltrow use all her Goop products to take off her makeup and refresh her skin. And I'm like, good for you. Good for you. Like, she actually cares about her products. All right, guys, before we wrap up, let's see the poll here. We had 26, although I don't think that's accurate, 26 votes for clotted cream and 6 votes for jam. And so 81% to 19% for the poll there. So guys, that was so fun. We'll go ahead and wrap it up here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Miss Pippa says, thank you so much for watching. And so now she can go and get her dinner. And she's like, I'm glad to be getting my dinner because I want my dinner so badly. So guys, Miss Pippa says bye-bye and hope you guys have a wonderful, fantastic, and amazing weekend. We'll be putting clips of RNN from this live stream on RNN Clips. So if you guys want to check that out, that's where you'll see it. It'll be like we'll be collaborating with this channel. It's a way to kind of get more eyes on that channel as well. And hopefully we can get that channel up and rolling because I've seen a lot of people do that. And I think it's an amazing way to kind of parse out the live stream so people can just watch the section they want. So guys, again, thank you so much again for tuning in, and I shall speak to you very soon. All right, bye. Say bye-bye, Miss Pippa.